Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and today I'm here on Herculean Physique with the one, the only Ryan Foley, graphic novelist, artist extraordinaire, and strength athlete. Greetings, Ryan. How are you?
I'm doing good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I'm looking forward to today's discussion. I always like when you plan things out, and the topics are always very important and relevant to even my workout.
Well, good. I hope so. And boy, just want normally we get to jump on here before we start recording and just talk just a little bit. But yeah, things are been hectic. So just before we jump in, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine. I'm basically I have several challenges, as everybody knows. Right now, the Parkinson's disease seems to be under control. I have some uncontrollable shaking, mostly in my hands and mostly my left hand, and it seems to be isolated to that. And I find that with the minimal medication I'm taking and with meditation, I'm able to control that. The diabetes, I've managed to get the numbers low, consistent, trying different things now. So it goes up and down a little bit, but it's still within the low range or the high normal range. And the biggest challenges are the arthritis in the spine with all the other attendant problems, like there's stenosis, there's bone spurs, and there's a couple of split discs. So there's all within a few inches. That seems to be the greatest challenge, but I'm eating as best I can. I walk as much as I can. I stand straight as often as I can, and the doctor getting prescription physical therapy again, so I'll be going there soon as well. How
And
about
so uh, doing well. So, okay, so we're family, or at least yeah, I consider you family.
yeah,
So every time I jump on here, I don't mean to. It's not like you have my script laid out or anything. But every time I come on here and you always ask me how I'm doing, I always respond the same way as I'm doing good, sir. How are you? Um, Genetically, I guess that's just how I'm wired to come in and respond. But so really, so again, we're family. I'm being truthful here. So in the words of the late great Rodney Dangerfield, well, I'm doing okay now, but last week I was in rough shape, rough shape.
I'm
Uh,
sorry.
so, but so no, things are going well. But uh, the way we talk about on here about doing things with intention. And so it's going through, and we're setting up, we're doing everything for a reason. So that way we're not going into the gym with just let's just see what we work out today, whatever we feel like. We're going into today is going to be shoulders and lats, or today is going to be chest and back. We're going in with an intention of doing things. And sometimes you can go through and you need to go through with intention to go through and take a little bit of time off.
Right.
And so sometimes life can kind of choose to do that for you. So the way I look at it is there's three aspects of my life. And generally, as long as, two of them are in harmony, I'm okay. If it's just the one that's kind of upset, that's all right. I can go through and I can handle it. And sometimes, working on those other two can help me balance out that third. So for me, it's physically, it's mentally, and then emotionally. So those three aspects, as long as I can keep two of them propped up, I'm doing okay. But so for listeners, maybe this is your first show. I'm located in Oklahoma, and as of right now, we are in the middle of storm season. I'm also in the insurance industry, so storm season for us, it's our busy time of the year. And here in Oklahoma, man, we've had it all. We've had tornadoes, we've had hail, we've had wind. So we're hoping that we get hot fast, so that way the weather kind of calms down. It's a little bit harder on the electric bill, but if we can, generally speaking, if we can get to Father's Day, then we're doing okay, and stuff kind of goes through and settles down. I'm also in the middle of working on the outline for my next novel, and so I'm trying to solve a lot of problems. It's like and making sure that everything works and all that sort of stuff. So this is like it's a very difficult thing, but once I go through, I kind of equate it to a roller coaster. It's like, man, if I can get to this point and I can get over it, okay, now it's all downhill from there. So I'm working on that outline. So here we go through. I'm so I'm intellectually, it's a lot of stuff going on. And then at the first of the month, my body decided to turn against me. So basically, I have an excess, every once in a while it pops up, of uric acid. I say that because what that essentially is, it's gout. And I don't know why I don't like that term. It sounds like an old lady disease. So I have gout. So basically, what it is, my body goes through and it develops too much uric acid. And if that level gets too high, it tends to crystallize, and it crystallizes in the coldest joints of the body, which for me, typically it's in my feet. And so it usually hits, one foot or the other. And then it's like little shards of glass in there. And so it's like, man, okay. I found that it's times like that. So there's 5 different things that I can do in order to prevent this from happening. So one thing I can do is I can lose weight. Well, welcome to my daily challenge that I'm constantly still struggling with. I can go through and I can cut down on my alcohol, but 0 from 0 is still 0. I can cut down on organ-based meat, which again, 0 from 0 is 0. I don't eat kidneys, I don't eat liver, brains, anything like that. So that's not an issue. I can drink more water, but if this doesn't blur out, oh, it kind of does there. But so anyway, so I mean, this is the growler that I'm working off of, and I'm drinking, like one of these a day. So it's good, plenty of water. Or I can go through and I can take medicine. It's just me trying to keep it under control. And every once in a while it's popped up. And to be honest, I haven't had an attack in years. But so it was that combined with that. And then I don't want to feel like I'm burying the lead here, but I'm a writer and I have to build to the suspense. So emotionally, it's very sad to report that earlier at the first of the month, my father passed away.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. We knew it was coming, so we had time to prepare for this buildup. But so now I'm shaky on 3 different levels. So it intellectually, drained, working hard, bunch of stuff going on there at the office. Physically, my foot's killing me. And I know that if I push myself too hard too quickly, it's only going to make things worse. So it's like, hey, and they get the news about my dad. So I really felt, okay, this is a pretty good time for me to go through and take a little bit of time off. And so I took 8 days away from the gym. And even whenever I came back, it was a thing where I even took more time off just from the cardio, from doing things like the treadmill. So this was the longest time that I've taken off since COVID, which so that would have been in early 2020 when all the gyms shut down and we had no choice. So this was my first real long, time off. But again, it was done with intention. It's to go through and to cause my body to get healed up. Not that there was, no physical ailments or anything like that, but it was just, hey, this is time to go through and let your body really go through and get healed up. It's so basically the way I looked at it is 1 step backwards in order to take a running leap forward. And so when I decided to get back into the gym, so that's kind of what I wanted to talk with you about here is, so I go through and I take this nice recovery time off. I'm still up and around you. I'm still doing stuff, but it's just, I've kind of taken some time off of the weights. And so the idea is to go through and give your body time to rest. And there are certain fitness experts that will tell you that once every year, you should just go through and take 2 weeks off anyway, just to kind of go through, let your body recover, all that sort of stuff. But me and mine, it's like, wait a minute, I paid for that gym membership for the month, and they're not going to give me a 50% discount because I'm not going to show up for 2 weeks. So for me, it was a little bit different. But so when I get back into the gym, now I just have to go through and I have to be smart. I have to do things to protect my foot. And so it's doing a lot of seated exercises. But what I also found, what I was very happy to find out, is that rowing is something that I've gotten into, very much enjoy it. And it's low impact when it comes to my foot. So I was able to jump back in and do the rowing, So it's like, okay, I'll just stay off the treadmill for a little bit until my foot is, really ready to go again. But so it's me going through and making these adjustments to go through and continue to work out, but it's just finding different ways to do different exercises. And so this is where I always say that there is no one single set system that's going to work for every single person
Right.
to go through, and it's because we're going to have different physical ailments, or just certain things that we enjoy doing that other people don't, and vice versa. So you have to kind of go through and find what goes through and works for you. So what I wanted to talk with you about tonight really is, how have you gone through and modified your exercises, not just with the Parkinson's. I mean, you can feel free to explain it as far back as you want to. Like, where have you found that in your fitness journey you've had to go through and make adjustments, and how do you work with that?
Okay. Basically, I guess we'll start with the Parkinson's. That's the most recent thing. The Parkinson's, as I stated, is the shaking is not the major issue, but it's the imbalance that is the major issue. So if I hold dumbbells that are above a certain weight, and the weight is very low, like around 20, 25 pounds, I lose my balance when I lift the weight. So I have to reduce the poundage when that happens, and move more deliberately and slowly. So I've had to incorporate that into my workouts. And I have a long history of shoulder injuries, and weightlifting does that. So I've learned over the years that if I can't raise my arm beyond this point, just go to that point, and instead of going to the other point with the other arm, just go to the same point, so this way they're equal. And then do exercises that I could handle heavier weights without a problem, like do shrugs with much heavier dumbbells. And the shrugs I could do center shrugs, front, back, circles, so I could add a whole mess of exercise. And I would just basically do exercise that I can do that don't hurt and work around the muscle. I found that overall, that speeds the recovery without antagonizing where I have the injury or the problem. And I've also developed over the years, I mean, now I'm almost 70, of like a routine where I exercise every part of my body at least twice a week, and some of them 3 times a week. And then I play with that all the time. And when I incorporate something new, like the antagonistic sets or the pyramids or whatever, I still gravitate toward the framework that I developed for my own body, which keeps me in the same strength and physical appearance range. And it's really simple, and I treat all parts of the body equally. So I'll start off with my head, I'll go to my eyes, I'll go to my tongue, I'll go to my jaw, I'll go to my throat and my voice, then I'll go to my neck, then I'll go to my traps, then I'll go to my shoulders, then I'll go to my torso, then my upper back, my chest, whole arms, and there I mean things like Zopping curls and hammer curls that hit the whole arm. Then I'll do the specialty exercise, the biceps, the triceps, forearms, the wrists, the hands, and I do grip with the hands and fingers. And then I'll go down throughout the body. So I make sure that twice a week, each body part, no matter if it's like eyes or jaw, will get some exercises. And when I try different things, I'll incorporate them into the basic structure. And sometimes it'll take a few weeks. Like right now, the conventional things aren't working. So I incorporated using the zodiac and the planets and what they represent to do exercise. So even if it has no effect after a month or so, right now it's exciting to try to integrate that and kind of play with that. So I'm integrating the planet and its corresponding body parts into my routine, but still I'm sticking with the basic twice or 3 times a week for each body part. I will generally work out until my body tells me I can't work out, because I've learned, like you, that if you push past the initial no, you're glad that you did work out, and you often have a really good workout. So I know that if my body still won't let me, I'll give myself a day or two rest. So basically that's it, and that's the philosophy that I follow. But I because I get bored and because I like trying new things, I like integrating new ideas and new information. And sometimes they get part of my daily routine. Like when I try some of the things that you've suggested, I like them so much they lasted for months, sometimes even years. Right, I did that routine until it stopped yielding any satisfaction or any result. And sometimes I'll get something from an exercise program like the Dare Beat, and that too, one or two exercises, specific ones that I picked up there for a body part, will become part of my permanent for then getup. But yeah, part of strength training is adjusting and adapting and modifying and evaluating and looking in that mirror where a lot of people think you're vain, but it's not that. You're looking and you're calculating how you can address certain problem areas. But people looking at you think you're being vain.
Right. Yeah. No, it's boy. So you brought up a really great concept there that I kind of want to delve into just a little bit. So typically, whenever you first get started on a program, and then you start to go through and you start to see the development, you start to realize that, oh, hey, I don't have enough time or I don't have enough energy to put as much emphasis on a single body part that I want. And so a lot of times people will go through and then they start doing what's called a split. And so eventually I got to a point where it's like, okay, I need a day for my chest and my back. I need a day for my legs. I need a day for my arms. I need a day for my shoulders and lats. So I go through and break that up. And so, well, if I'm going to do that, that means I'm going to be in the gym. So now I can't just go 3 days a week and hit everything. I've got to be in there on a regular basis in order to target those muscles for the appropriate amount to go through and build the muscle that I want to build. But so whenever I came back, so the problem whenever you're overworking a muscle, just to get into the science, just real briefly for it. So basically what you're doing is whenever you're going through and you're doing resistance training, if you're lifting weights, essentially what you're doing is you're slowly making or quickly making all these little micro tears in your muscles. And so that's the soreness that you feel, or is your body going through and stitching up all those little micro tears. And that's what helps build the muscle. So whenever I came back, I decided it was better for me to smartly or dumbly, I can't decide. So I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a whole body workout for the first couple days after I come back. So that way the soreness is kind of equally distributed across my entire body instead of wicked, incredible soreness focused in on a single body area, like my pecs. So jumping back into it after being gone for so long, what I found is that, so again, my goal was to go through and okay, so let's work the whole body. We'll do that, for a couple of times, just kind of to get back into it. And what I discovered during that time off, whenever I came back, I found myself jumping. So again, the body remembers. Yeah. It remembers very quickly, and it takes longer than you think to go through and lose all of that muscle. So you're going to retain your muscle retention will still be there. And then once you start to get back into it again, what I found was an abundance of energy to where I found myself lifting heavier weights because, again, I had been rested for so long and I was excited to get back into it. So here I am, I'm ready to go. And I was, like curling maybe a little bit, heavier than I would have, but also knowing this mentality of going, hey, we're going to work through the entire muscle range. So instead of doing 4 sets for a muscle group, I'm jumping in, I'm just doing 2. So as a result, I'm packing on the weight a little bit and going through it. I noticed this particularly like with my curls, and then I noticed it with my farmer's carries that I do. It's just I was able to carry that weight for a little bit longer. And I think that's just because my energy levels were so high. But so I always like to come in here and I do like to bring science into this. And so the question is, so there if you're going to take a week off thinking that you're going to come back stronger, so science has proven that may not actually be the case. So just to read just a little bit here, there was a randomized control trial found that taking a full week off in the middle of a training program did not lead to any muscle building advantage. So what they're saying is, and so they went through, they did a series of experiments, combined all the metadata, and what they found is that going through and taking that week off for the intent of getting stronger, to say, hey, I'm going to come back here, I'm going to come back rested, and I'm going to be stronger. As it turns out, that's actually not the case, because the people who went through and did a deload phase, which I know we've talked about in a previous episode, but just to recap, a deload phase is where you're only doing 50% of the weight that you usually do. You're basically just going through the motions in order to go through and keep your body up and moving, so that way your muscles remember what it's supposed to do. So what they're advocating is, so there is a time to go through and take some time off. We can't live optimized 100% of the time, but if you're going through and taking the week off with the intent of, oh, hey, I'm going to use this to get stronger, what they're saying is that a deload phase might actually be more valuable for you, because they're not seeing a significant, and they go in with ultrasounds to check to see how much the muscle had grown. And with the people who took a week off, they didn't see a significant amount of strength increase, and in fact they saw a little bit of a strength decrease. But the more important thing about it is that the people who took the week off, and this is where, again, you have to listen to your body. And there is a difference between saying, oh, I'm tired, I don't really want to go. And yes, there are sometimes when you don't want to go, that's when you have the absolute best workout. But they said the people who took the week off were not as psychologically ready to get back into the swing of things. So this is where my recommendation would be, so why are you going through and taking this time off? Is it to go through and heal? And you have to understand where your psychological weaknesses are. And so I want people to be set up for success. And so people will ask, well, which is better? Is it better to work out in the morning, or is it better to work out in the afternoon, or is it better to work out in the evening or late at night? And my answer is always the same. The best workout is the one that you do. So if you're not a morning person, forcing yourself to go up to the gym at 6 a.m., you're kind of setting yourself up for failure there. So if psychologically you're afraid that you're going to go through and fall off the wagon because you go through and you take a week off, then my recommendation would be is literally to not take that week off. I mean, and that's where you have to listen to your body and know, hey, okay, the deload phase ended up working better for me because it kept me better motivated throughout the week. And so again, it just goes back to understanding what's going to work best for you, and then incorporating that into your own routine. It's not a one size fits all. And so I'm curious, with your Parkinson's, are you experiencing like is it a loss in grip strength? Are you experiencing that at all?
Yeah, it's a loss. I have a difficult time holding a pen. You know, my writing is writing out or signing things is taking a blow. And that's one of the problems that are associated with the diabetes as well as with the Parkinson's. And so I have neuropathy of the hands and feet, and that's kind of like a mixed bag of experiences. It's not as bad as it used to be. In the beginning, it was like I had gloves and socks made of boiling water. And then there came a place where it lasted for a long time, and it still happens now, is numbness and hypersensitivity blend into a weird thing where you don't know if you're feeling numb or if you're feeling molecules. That's how touchy and so sensitive you are. It's very strange, contradictory feeling to describe. I found that basically I listen to my body and tell them to take off because I don't aim on taking them. I aim for 7 days a week, and it happens mostly 7 days a week, but sometimes it'll happen 5 or 6 times a week. So if I get those days, and very rarely do I need to assign myself time off. One of the things I noticed was my enthusiasm sometimes gets in my way. Like, for instance, because I'm having problems with my balance and my legs and my feet, I love doing leg work. Most people hate leg work. I used to love leg work. So I broke my legs into um, sections. So like I have one section is my feet with my ankles and my toes. So those are three areas. Then I do my calves. Then I have squats, either standing squats, incline squats, or wall squats. Then I have leg lifts, which I do front, back, or sides. And then I have the thigh. I have like a thigh master type of thing.
Sure.
So I broke those down into three separate areas. Like I do my arms sometimes. Like sometimes I'll do my arms together, and sometimes I'll do biceps with back, triceps with the chest, and forearms with shrugs and calves. You know, so I have these systems, and I'll change them. But I noticed when I was doing my legs this way, so exercising legs 6 days a week with different parts of the leg at each time, my legs started freezing. So I couldn't move hardly at all. So my legs refused to move and they froze. So when I went back to doing my legs maybe 4 times a week instead of 6 times a week, I'm able to walk more. I still have a problem with my leg muscles freezing, but they don't freeze that often. So it depends on you and where you are at any particular time and what happens to work at the time. And like I noticed with a lot of the Peplum guys that inspired me, the Sword and Sandal Cinema guys, after watching them for like most of a lifetime, I noticed that a lot of them with their abs just holding in their stomach. They don't really have developed abs, they're just holding their breath. So that puts everything into perspective. And it's like, you know, we all have a body, and the body we attempt to have it look like something that we idolize. You know, it's an ideal for us. And sometimes we can kind of meet it. Sometimes we can meet it. Sometimes we can surpass it. But it's still our body, and we're as unique as the people we're trying to emulate. And we can learn from each other, but we are what we are. Like you see yourself as heavy, and that's how you perceive yourself. But in pictures, you are a monster. You know, you surpass the Sword and Sandal physique. Uh, so again, it depends on our perceptions and what we see.
You're right, and thank you for that compliment. I appreciate it. It's coming back after taking that little bit of time off. That's where I was able to kind of look at myself a little bit more objectively and go, okay, yeah, I like where this is developing. I still need to work on this area, and it's a constant desire to go through and improve ourselves. And I think a lot of times we do tend to focus too much, unfortunately, on the negative. But this is where I would again recommend to people that there is a time and a place for everything. And so you can go through again, the best exercise is the exercise that you do. And so a lot of times people will ask, you know, okay, well, so which is the superior method? Or I guess, or they'll say, okay, well, so should I do free weights or should I do machines? And my answer is yes. You know, so, well, should I do dumbbells or should I do barbells? Yes. You know, should I do cables? Yes. You know, you should do all of it. That's the thing. And so sometimes it's going through and having that information to decide, hey, this is what I need to do. So to go through and do an Olympic style lift where I'm pressing a weight over my head when my foot is compromised is not the smartest thing for me to do. For me to go through when my foot, my toe specifically is compromised, hey, this is not the best time to go through and do those seated calf raises where I'm putting a lot of pressure on my feet. So it's going through and adapting to the physical impairment that I currently have until I can go through and get past it, and then I can jump back into it. So this is where I don't advocate going through and taking completely the time off. You just have to be smart enough to know how to pivot your exercises in order to compensate for any sort of weakness that you're currently experiencing. And so for me, this, again, it was doing a lot of seated exercises. And that's where, I mean, I'm being real honest, I was thinking about you You know, so it's like, okay, so if he's having these balancing issues, okay, so yeah, doing a squat is probably going to be pretty difficult, but to go through it and to work on a leg press machine would be a little bit easier for you if you were working out at a gym. I know you work out at home, but so it's like, so if you're going through and you're experiencing this balancing issue, but how does that affect you, say, if you are seated? Can you go through and do the standard, the concentration curl, where your feet are planted on the floor, your butt is on the seat, and so you're leaning forward and pinning your elbow in against the inside of your knee? Can you go through and do concentration curls like that to eliminate that balance issue? Or is it, am I reading that wrong?
No, you're reading it correctly. And in fact, what you said about the leg press, I resist physical therapy that doesn't let me integrate leg presses into the work of the physical therapy. And the last place I went, they're pretty good, but they didn't want me doing any leg presses at all. So I'm not going back there now. I'm going to the one I had before then to let me do leg presses to my heart's content, as long as I was doing everything else I should be doing.
Right.
Basically, with seating, there's the problem that I have because my neuropathy was dropping the weights. So because I'm exercising in the house and I have a wood floor, I'm reluctant to tackle heavier weights by sitting because there's the chair. If the chair can break with the added weight, I don't know. Sometimes the chair seems a little flimsy, and I'm reluctant to put the weight on it. And also, I don't want to drop it on the floor and damage the floor. So yeah, I thought of that and I tried incorporating it. And I do things like leveraging by leaning against things. Like I'll do things leaning the back of my arms against the inside of the chair while I'm leaning over the chair, a sturdier chair. That adds some extra support.
Man, oh, I wish I could remember. So you sparked something in me. So again, man, we live in a wonderful information age where we can go through and we can find all sorts of different creators. And there is a gentleman that I follow on TikTok, and unfortunately, I cannot remember his name. But so he comes on and he analyzes these videos, and he's like, okay, so this video got over 1 million views, and it's someone telling people how to perform this exercise, and 1 million people watch this video. And he came back and he was like, okay, but maybe you can't do that yet. Okay, so here's an alternative that you can do until you can get to that point where you can do what was explained in the video. And maybe it's because of your fitness level. It could be because of again, a physical impairment. So it's like, if you see someone doing push-ups and you can't go through and do those push-ups yet, he goes through it in this very calm, very relaxing way. He doesn't yell at you, but he just says, hey, you can do this up against the wall. You can do this up against the counter in your kitchen. You can do this, using your coffee table until it's time for you to get down on the floor and to be able to do push-ups. And so what he's advocating is going through and finding these different ways to go through and do the same exercise, so that way you can build to it. And so, man, I'm disappointed now. I wish I could remember the name of the creator, but so it's going through and finding videos like that. There are all sorts of ways where we can go through, and that's where I would just advocate that fitness is for everyone.
Yes.
It's easily something that we should all aspire to, just in order for us to be healthier. Not so much the vanity thing, although that is a wonderful motivation, I think, to go through and say, hey, I want to look better. That's a fantastic motivation. But I think it's more, that's kind of like that little sprinkling that they can throw on there. But really, the meat of it is, it's to go through and to want to be healthier. And that's been, my goal really from the beginning, is to go through and be healthier.
And that's the show. One of the subtitles for the show is the quest for optimal wellness. So that is the intent of the show too. I think you've asked me a variations question, but a lot of people ask me the question now that, again, my back is problematic, is, do I regret doing all the lifting that I did? And I have to think about that. And like, part of me is saying, well, yeah, I never wanted to enter a contest or, and I did all these heavy things. I used to lift really heavy furniture and carry very heavy things long distances, and I was proud of that. That made me feel good that I was able to do it. But then I think to myself that part of all that lifting defined who I was for a big majority of my lifetime. So I like who I am, and other people seem to. So I don't know if I would have not done it if the thought came to me that maybe I might damage my back, because it played so much a part of my evolution as a human being, as a person. But it is something that people should think about if that is a concern for them. What's going to happen when they get to be in their late 60s, early 70s, or beyond? You know, how will this affect their back, their spine, their legs, their hands, so forth.
So, okay, so that's a good point. That's a good point. And so, one of the things that I want to bring up, so as I've mentioned on here before, I am a tremendous fan of professional wrestling. Once I get done talking with you, I'm going to watch the first hour of Raw, and then I'll shut it all off, and then I'll go over and I'll finish Raw tomorrow morning before the internet can spoil everything, and I'll do that on my cardio. So that's how I spend my so that's how I spend my Tuesdays. Should be my day off, but hey, let's do some cardio, and I'll watch the pro wrestling. So there's one wrestler who I think is absolutely fantastic. Her name is Rhea Ripley. And apparently Rhea has experienced some medical issues, but then also came out and admitted that she suffers from an eating disorder. And so my heart went out to her for that. But apparently what they were saying is that if she wants to have a long career in professional wrestling, they're recommending that she go through and drop some of her muscle mass in order for her to take the bumps that she does in the ring. She's not the only person to do this. Rey Mysterio, who is not overweight by any stretch of the imagination, but they went through and they recommended, hey, you need to drop a little bit of weight. But Rey is one of the luchadors. He's one of the greatest luchadors, and he spins around the ring. It's amazing to watch his athleticism. But so he went through and he dropped some weight, about 20 pounds. And he said, I move different. You know, I move better. He said it's less pressure on his knees. So this is one of those few times where it's like, yes, maybe going through and dropping a little bit of that weight just strictly for the joints is probably actually a good thing. We're seeing this with actors, especially if they're transitioning from pro wrestling to acting. We see what they do go through and they drop quite a bit of weight. One of the best examples is probably Dave Bautista, but it's only because Batista was well over 300 pounds, and that dude didn't have an ounce of body fat on him. Right. But he's like, guys, I'm still 240 pounds, which is still, I mean, that's a big dude. But then I have also seen the autopsy images of someone with I don't even know how they got the MRI image of it, and it's someone who goes through and lifts weights on a regular basis, maybe not even necessarily like super heavy weights, but just goes through with regular resistance training, and you saw the cross section of their thigh compared with someone who hasn't worked out and has lost a lot of muscle mass. And after we reach a certain age, that muscle mass it goes into sharp decline. So we have to actively work to go through and maintain that muscle. But you see those two side by side and going, yeah, I'll take the muscle one just because. And again, we'll mention the greatest bodybuilder of all time, which is Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's now in his 70s and he's still going through lifting weights and still looks fantastic. So I do think, so I mean, I understand what you're saying about is there a different way for us to do it? But I also think in this era, people are going through and they're understanding the science of it a little bit more, and they're implementing different techniques in order to keep people safer. Really going through protecting that spine, doing things like that in order to prevent the back injuries that we've been seeing. Even when we were talking about, I don't know how quickly they came in, but now it seems like they're everywhere. But using the elastic bands to go through and use those as opposed to just lifting heavy weights. So, I mean, because they work a little bit differently, but those elastic bands, I've got some that I keep some here at the house. I keep some at the office, and they're so lightweight. You can throw them. They don't weigh anything. So you can, if you're going on vacation, you can go through, throw them in your bag. They don't take up a whole lot of space. And then you're taking that kind of that traveling gym with you. So you don't necessarily have to completely slide off the radar if you're going through and traveling. So I get what you're saying, but also how that lifting weights, it becomes, if you're doing it for a serious amount of time, you are going to go through and you're going to start to experience that change. And it starts to become part of your lifestyle and it starts to define who you are. And I think that's because a, a physique like that is not something that can be bought. You can't cheat your way to get there, at least not easily. So it's for me, it's more about my own self discipline, and that's what's defined me so it's more than the weights. It's the discipline that it took to go up there every single day, and to that point, no one can discount where it's like, well, hey, well, how come you don't have 4% body fat? Okay, yeah, I don't, but at the same time, I'm still going up there every single day. So it's the idea of I haven't read enough into this yet to be able to talk intelligently about it. But so Albert Camus talked about the absurdity, and the absurdity is what we need and what the universe provides for us. And the absurdity is the gulf in between. But sometimes it's just going through and continuing to do the thing, not for the result, but to do it. That's the important thing. It's not whether or not you succeed, it's not whether or not you fail, but it's going through and doing the attempt. The attempt is the noble thing.
I believe that very powerfully. And as I look back on my life, I'm finding that the things that were in my mind that I had intent to do, opportunities to do those things came up in my life very many times, sometimes in a more powerful level than I could ever have attained on my own at this particular point in time. I've lived for enough time, for a long time. But opportunities to do the things that I wanted to do were always there, and I've been taking advantage of them. And I found that it's amazing how many opportunities I said no to when I could have just simply said yes and changed the entire course of my life. Of course, I'd be a different person, but it's just amazing. So I'm programming myself for my next life. I'm achieving certain things so I don't repeat the mistakes next time. If there is a next time, I'll at least program my soul or my mind to not make the same mistakes.
I understand what you mean. I do, and I think that's probably if I'm going through and I'm on a list of regret, it's the fact that I didn't really start this journey, not seriously, until 2014. And I kind of wish I would have started earlier. I think if I would have started earlier, maybe the results would have been a little bit different. But that door has gone through and closed. So I do the best with what I can in order to be as healthy as I can for as long as I can. So, so how so if you see that you're not able to lift the amount that maybe you used to back in the day, how do you handle that as far as your ego? I mean, I guess for lack of a better term, it's how do you go through and deal with the fact that I mean, is it just because, yeah, you're in your 70s now, so you can't lift as much, or do you feel bad about that, or are you more comfortable with just with lifting what you can?
Um, it bothers me that I can't lift as much as I used to, but I recognize that getting older happens to everybody. I recognize that people like Arnold devoted a lot more time and energy to doing this, so of course they would have a better success rate than I am. And also they have access to opportunities that I don't have at the current level of my life. And again, people who don't know who I am have called me Hercules, and then found out that, yeah, that's what everybody calls me, that's what my name is. But so I I still, in my bent back old age, radiate something Herculean that people will recognize and respond to. So I guess that's the best that I could hope for. And it's not a bad thing to be recognized for who or what you are. Um, I don't know, did I answer that question?
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, so to move, because man, well, we run out of time too quickly with these sometimes. But no, I've really enjoyed this back and forth.
Me
But
too.
just to give people something concrete that they can walk away with. So one, I advocate going through and taking time off if it is intentional. For a purpose. It's not just because, oh, I don't feel like going today. But if we're going to go through it and heal, then that's okay. But I would more advocate for a deload session as opposed to taking an extensive amount of time off. But do whatever is best for you to be able to listen to your body. So um, while I will admit that I am not at a just, if we were only looking at the number on the scale, I'm not as satisfied. I wish that it was a little bit of a lower number, but at the same time, my body composition has definitely changed dramatically over the course of this 12 years that I've been on this journey now. And so body recomposition, so that's where you're going through, you're reducing fat, you're increasing your muscle, and just your body is going to move a little bit differently. Let's face it, a 250-pound linebacker in the NFL is going to have a very different, physical type than that same 250 pounds as someone who lives a more sedentary lifestyle. So if you're wanting to go through and you're wanting to do body recomposition, which is where you're adding muscle, you're reducing fat, there are four things that you have to do. It's four simple things that you have to do in order to effectively do this body recomposition. So we'll run through those just so that way you've got the viewers. I keep wanting to say listeners, but the viewers have something that they can take away with them. And so this is very simple, but simple does not mean easy. So there's four things that you have to do for body recomposition. Number one, you have to lift weights. This is science. You have to go through and do resistance training. You have to lift heavy weights. You have to lift progressively heavy weights in order to go through and build that muscle. The second thing that you have to do is you have to eat protein, and you have to eat a significant amount of protein. You have to eat enough protein in order to go through and heal the muscles that you've been tearing down in the gym. And so the only way to do that is through protein. Various protein sources are out there, whether you're meat eater, vegan, there's different ways, but protein is essential. And once you figure out how much protein you need, then your whole life becomes consumed by it. So you start looking at your snacks and you're like, well, how much protein is in this? And I've got to hit my goal. But so you're going to go through, you're going to do your resistance training, you're going to go through and you're going to eat your protein. But the important thing is that whenever you're in the gym, you are not in the gym to burn calories. You are there to get strong. You are there to lift weights. The calories that you burn is a nice little byproduct, but it's not what you're there for. You're there to get strong. And by going through and doing that, I would say on a good day, I mean, when I'm really hooking it up and I'm using a lot of heavy weight, and typically it's like if it's leg day, especially, I will go through and I will burn more calories. But really, even on a good day where I'm lifting really heavy, about the most that I can burn in an hour worth of what I consider to be vigorous exercise is about 600 calories. And I can wipe out that 600 calories with, I think it's 2 Krispy Kreme donuts. That all those calories that you burn, they're gone. So they can go away very, very quickly. So the third thing that you need to do is you need to move more. And you're moving more all throughout the day. And by going through and doing that, so the goal in the gym is to get strong, but you want to go through and increase how much you're moving so that way you're burning more calories in order for you to reduce your fat and then at the same time build your muscle. And then the fourth thing that you have to do, and this is the one, so you have to sleep. I know but it is the fourth thing that you have to do is you have to sleep. You have to recover. Muscle is not made in the gym. Muscle is made in the bed, which sounds way dirtier than I mean it to. But it's yes, by going through and getting that good recovery, that is going to allow you to get back into the gym the next day. So by going through and doing those four things, you will go through and on a long enough timeline, I guarantee you will see that body recomposition take effect. But so you need to lift weights, you need to eat protein, you need to move more, and you need to sleep. And so that's the reason why, yeah. So whenever I say you're going through and you're starting up this program, one of the things you're going to start do, so you start looking at things a little bit different. And this is me not knocking alcohol. It's I'll go out and have a beer with a friend. I have no problem with that. But you start looking at those calories a little bit different. You go, well, maybe I'll just have the one beer instead of four. Maybe instead of staying out until midnight, hey, I'm gonna be in bed by 9:30, so that way I can be asleep by 10. So that way I can get up at 6 so I can go work out again. So it's doing all these little things and then just moving more. That's just it's going to improve your energy. So by going through and doing all these things, yeah, it starts to build you up. So the intention is, hey, let's go through with this body recomposition, but then we go through and suddenly we start finding ourselves making healthier choices, which start impacting and radiating out to the rest of our lives. And by going through and doing that, we kind of almost unintentionally, we start becoming better people because we're making healthier and smarter choices.
And I believe our most divine gift as humans is our ability to take something that's in our mind, in our imaginations, and by performing certain actions, bring it into being here. So working on a book or a story is one way of demonstrating that. And working on your body is another way. You become a living sculpture.
I I like that. Yeah, I like that idea of. I mean, yeah, because again, this is something that it's usually built slowly over time, and it's not going to happen on the timetable that you want it to. Unfortunately, I wish it did. But again, it's going through and putting in that good work over and over and over again, especially when you're not seeing the results that you want, not giving up, refusing to give in, going, okay, I'm not there yet, but let's see where I'm at, 6 months from now. Let's see where I'm at a year from now. And so it's going through and developing that certain mental toughness to go ahead and continue on with a journey when you're not necessarily seeing the results that you want. I think that's how you become it's unfragile is the better term. It's there's the argument, oh well, Superman's not tough because nothing hurts him. The bullets just bounce off of him. So is that really bravery? But to go through, to get hit, to get hurt, and then still keep moving forward, that's where the real hero I think lies. Someone who does it even in spite of the hurt. Okay, let's pick ourselves back up. There's the samurai proverb, fall 7 times, rise 8. And so it's going through it and continuing to do that hard work over and over again. Man, that's what makes you mentally tough. It makes you mentally strong. In You have the physical strong, but then you also have the mentally strong as well.
And that's why I like putting these podcasts together, because we're not doctors, we're not health professionals, but we're people who care about their health and care about their body and care about physical culture. Go back to how bodybuilding was originally called. And we're sharing our journey. We're not only sharing our successes, we're sharing our failures. We're sharing our securities and our insecurities and what we know. And that's the journey. And this journey has been a journey that both of us have spent a lot of our adult lives to. And it does become a part of who and how you are. So that takes a lot of bravery. Because again, we're not there with a magic pill. We're not there with a magic book. We're not there with a magic liquid to take to transform yourself into something beyond the ken of regular mortals. We're people, and we're doing this to get to this result. and this is what happened, and we're sharing it honestly and openly with other people.
And yes, so again, full disclaimer, yeah, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a health professional. This is just, it's kind of one of those things where you can talk to a variety of people about things. You can talk to people who have done the book learning, and then you can talk to the people who's gone out there and done it for real. And so for me, I'm the person that's gone through and done the practical applications, and what I failed a lot. I mean, I've failed over and over and over again, but through those failures, I learned what didn't work. And
Right.
so now it's incorporating that into my current, lifestyle. And so that's where I think that's where a lot of people can get tripped up because they're afraid of failure. But that's where it's a thing where you just have to find a way to push through that and continue to develop that rigidity to go through it and keep going. So that's why I'm more than happy to reach back to help people up if I can. And so hopefully that's what we're doing here is helping someone out and giving them the confidence to say, hey, if these guys can do it, then okay, we can do it too.
And thank you so very much for being so open with your own journey. And you're an excellent writer. And I've seen you put together websites with your health information. We have Pure and Strength and the Invictus protocols. I'm looking forward to when you get to a point where you're ready to share it via the printed word. Because classic I'd be proud to have in my library, along with your graphic novels.
Well, thank you very much. I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Are there any last minute thoughts you'd like to leave people with today?
Onward, forward. I mean, that's the best. And man, and Hercules, thank you very much. Thank you for providing me with this opportunity to come in here and talk with you about something that I am very passionate about. I love you for it, and I love you in general. And thank you so much for providing me with this opportunity.
And I love you too, and I look at you like family as well. And we've been talking for about a decade at least.
Yeah.
We've gotten to know each other very well. Thanks again. Have a wonderful evening. May the weather improve. And again, I'm sorry about the loss of your father.
Thank you very much. I do. I appreciate that. He was a good man.
Now, with my vision, it's hard to see, so it's going to take me a little longer to find the button. There it is. Yep. Hey, good night, Ryan. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay.